Don't sacrifice quality and flavor when you're in a hurry. Golden Pride offers ribs, fried chicken, green and red chili breakfast burritos, and Frontier Cinnabons. 4 great locations, or visit us online at goldenpride@abq.com. Golden Pride Barbecue Chicken and Ribs, proud supporter of ProView Sports Network. Car Crafters, proud supporter of ProView Sports Network.
Are you sure we're supposed to be doing this?
Don't worry, I've watched him do it 1,000 times. Come on, what's the worst that can happen?
No! Bad dog!
Hi, welcome to Car Crafters. What happened?
Don't worry, we'll make it like it never happened.
Car Crafters, it's like it never happened.
Folks, there's no other way but to be all in. Either he's Lord of all or he is not Lord at all. And you can experience the real and authentic, true life change that only God can provide to humanity. See, when we truly encounter Jesus and purpose to know him and follow his teachings, hashtag life change will occur.
What is glamour? Frailty. What is desire? Diamonds. They say a life lived without passion is hardly worth living.
Ma'am? Ma'am? Ma'am?
Dang, this one made me feel all special.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Red Menace TV here on ProView Networks. Leroy Lucero along with Michael Carlisle.
What's up?
I hope you had a good Thanksgiving.
I did.
Okay, so we weren't here last Thanksgiving, or we weren't here last week due to Thanksgiving. And shocker or not a shocker, but the day before we usually come on, Eddie Nunez announced that Coach Bob Davie would not be retained past the season. And then they had the game this week where there was maybe like 2,000 people there.
Maybe.
Well, I'm counting everyone, the coaches, the players for both sides, and even like the guys that were standing at the gate kind of looking in. Maybe 2,000. But no surprise. I mean, we've talked about it now for like almost 2.5 years now. Are you shocked in the timing? Because I guess Bob Davie, and I don't want to go completely all back to old news, but we didn't get a chance to talk about it. Were you shocked on the timing of him, or did you think he was going to go one more year for the buyout purposes?
No, look, I wasn't shocked by the timing, other than maybe you wait until after that final game. But I think they got into a situation where once it had kind of been agreed upon, then you have to start talking to the regents to make sure you have their support, because you've got to negotiate a buyout. The more people that know about it, the more likely it is it leaks out anyway in the week leading up to the game. So I think they just wanted to be ahead of that. I wouldn't have been surprised if they had brought him back another year, to your point on that. But I mean, 3-9, and at that point you were on the fast track to 2-10, which is where they wound up this year. I mean, at some point something has to change, and in this case it's the head coach.
Well, I think that it's not even so much the record, and I think we've talked about this for the past 2.5 years.
Right.
It wasn't the record that I think ended up being the ouster at this time. It was the fact that there was maybe 2,000 people at the stadium the last game, but even the game before that, how many were there? 4,000? You know, the game before that, maybe 4,000. I mean, it's steadily dropped the past 2 years. Winning's part of it, or not winning, I should say, is part of it. But I think part of it also is people are just, they just burnt out on the whole scene there.
Yeah, look, winning is a big part of it. Winning's not the only thing. I mean, let's be really honest. How many people do you think are showing up next year?
Yeah, that was the problem when we had this discussion last year, if you remember, at this time, and I said, you know, Bob Davie should be let go at this point because you can't hold the people hostage and expect them to come back. a lot of people, myself included, have found new things to do on a Saturday after. I'm just going to be honest with you. There's new things to do on Saturday afternoons that I've done that I didn't do before. Where before a Saturday afternoon or a Saturday evening was guaranteed I was going to a Lobo football game. But now all of a sudden I've kind of found that, you know what, I kind of enjoy the high school football scene. And it's like sometimes there's decisions to be made. Sure. In fact, this last Saturday, it was like there was a state championship. Do I want to go to that, or do I want to go see the Lobos? And there used to be, and we've talked about this for years, that there was always a core of about 10,000 Lobo fans that always showed up. Win or lose, mostly lose because it's UNM football. But they still showed up. They enjoyed the tailgate aspect. They enjoyed going to the game. They enjoyed whatever. And then, you know, UNM could build upon that. That core is gone. You know, you kind of tried to hold on, you know, and I talked about this last year. Eddie Nunez tried to hold him hostage for one more year, knowing that Bob Davie was dead man walking. There was no way he was going to survive this year, okay? I mean, we talked about this, and you said, well, they're hoping that he's going to win. I like, yeah, hope in one hand, and you know, but it's not going to happen. And I think a lot of fans just said, that's it. I'm not going to pay the money. I'm not going to go. A lot of boosters. There's not a lot of big boosters at UNM. A lot of boosters, a lot of fans, and they just stopped going. And now, whatever coach they decide to hire, I already threw my name in the hat 3 years ago for Danny Gonzalez. I'm good with him still. Whoever they hire is going to have to do a lot of work to try to bring back at least that group of fans. Sure. Because they have found new things to do.
And look, don't get me wrong, I expect attendance to be back up some next year. But yeah, it's still going to be not that good. I mean, let's be honest, new coaching staff next year. You're in a rebuild mode. All right, maybe you're competitive in a few more games. Maybe you get another win or two, but you're probably still not going to be contending for a bowl. And look, let's be honest. Let's say they actually have 15,000 butts in seats per game next year. Okay. They'll probably announce a little more, but let's say that's what.
That'd be huge. 15,000?
Would it? It'd be
for you for the past.
It would be huge compared to what they're actually putting butts in seats
for
right
the
now.
past decade. I think for the past decade, I think 15,000. If they showed up for a new coach in a rebuild, that would be monstrous.
Here's the problem.
Yeah.
If you're actually putting 15,000 butts in seats, you're losing money every game.
No, I hear you. I'm not saying it's right.
I mean, I'm not trying to be negative. My point is, there's a long ways to go here, and certainly a new head coach is part of it. You want somebody who's going to be out in the community. It'll be interesting to see if they get someone with local ties, a Danny Gonzalez, someone like that. But the new coach isn't going to solve the problem in and of itself. And to be quite honest, even in a year or two, if you're winning ball games, that's not going to solve the problem. Attendance went down the year they won 9 games and won the New Mexico Bowl and went into the final game of the season contending for a Mountain Division title and a chance to play in the Mountain West Conference championship game. So, and look, I don't know all the answers, but it's more than just winning. It's more than just the new head coach. There's a lot of work to be done. And frankly, part of it, and we don't have to get into this too much now, but frankly, the university is going to have to put more money into the program.
Yeah. You know, I kind of threw out the idea, we talked about it before the Thanksgiving break, because United was kind of petitioning the legislature to try to build a soccer-only stadium. And I thought about, you know, I kind of wrestled with that in my mind, because I think that would be an asinine decision to do that. But I think what would be smart is if they could refurbish, you said put more money into the university stadium, Dream Style Stadium. If they could refurbish it to the point where you could have soccer and football in there, because let's face it, there's what, how many home games? 6 home games in the New Mexico Bowl that stadium's used for. And if you could have the United play their games there, their home games there, you'd have to fix it up. There'd have to be some changes made, okay? But if you could do that, then you could have 2 tenants in there. Maybe you can use the money instead of trying to build a soccer alone stadium in there. Maybe we could try to talk to the New Mexico Athletic Association. We just had the state championship games. Maybe we could have a couple of those like they do in the pit or down at the Pan Am for basketball. They do that for football here. So you can have that as someone else that's using the facility, as well as maybe even talk about bringing back Lobo men's soccer and allowing them to use the facility as well, and women's soccer. So you kind of try to get as much use out of that facility as you can.
But don't you already have a soccer facility?
Where?
Right behind the football stadium?
Yeah, but it's not big enough for what the United needs. I think the capacity is like 6,000 or right around 6,000. That's not enough. if you do that, then you can get the legislature to throw the money in there. You try to get that building used more. And it's also a marketing thing, because if you're used to going there, if it's a place, a destination that you go to, so say you go to the United soccer game, maybe you're going to give Lobo football a chance because you have a good time, or you go to the UNM men's soccer game or women's soccer game. You just make it a place, a destination that you're used to going to, and it's not all miserable.
Maybe, but, I don't think, and I don't mean this in a bad way, I don't think the University of New Mexico cares about the United, because that's not their problem.
Right,
They've got their own stuff to worry about, and frankly, the United needing a stadium, wanting a stadium built, or finding somewhere else to play, that's kind of their issue. UNM's focused on getting butts in football seats, and to be quite honest, I don't know that hosting soccer games there on off weeks for football is going to do that.
Well, here, so you mentioned, and the reason I just said that is because you mentioned they have to put some money into the stadium and fix it up.
Well, no, I said put money into the program.
Okay, into the program. Okay, well, part of that will be the stadium, because it is a little,
Sure.
I mean, it needs some work.
Yeah.
I mean, prior to Mike Loxley being hired, they had a whole setup when Rocky was here. I'd seen some of the plans that they had to redo a lot of the stadium.
Then they decided to move
and
the
then
money
they
for
went
the
to the pit,
yeah.
which that's a whole other disaster. But I mean, why can't we go back to some of those plans? Well, you're not going to be able to, the legislature is not going to fund a UNM football stadium and a standalone soccer. So you got two people that are going to be competing for those monies, right? Let's put them together, work together, instead of trying to take care of your slice of the pie. If you help one another out, maybe you can get the money in there and refix that stadium and everyone can use it. That's just my thought. I know that's weird in New Mexico. We don't do stuff like that. Everyone's trying to get their little slice of the pie and screwing everybody else.
The United got a sweetheart deal for the Isotopes Park because it's owned by the city. We don't do things to help each other, really?
That's a one-time thing, but they need a stadium.
Sure.
In fact, talking with Adam Deal, one of the things in order for them to remain, I guess, in Albuquerque is they need to have plans or something in the works for a different place to play.
Well, again, not trying to be cynical, I'm not trying to slight the United, but that sounds like poor planning on their part.
Well, no, because they had to get the team here to see if it worked.
Well, right, but you got to have plans in the back of your mind of
right.
how
I
you're
agree.
going to continue to grow.
But I mean, how much were they asking for a soccer alone stadium? $25 million. I don't know where you're going to find that money. It's not like it's floating around in
the
the
oil
state.
fields down south.
Yeah, but everyone else wants a little taste of that oil field
Sure.
as well, and UNM's going to want a taste of that oil field money as well. To put money into that program. Okay, you were at the press conference yesterday, right? Mm-hmm. Anything surprising or interesting that you heard in the press conference?
Not really, and I don't mean that in a bad way, but I mean it was kind of what you would expect. Eddie Nunez laid out what the process is going to be like for them finding a new head coach. He did mention that he had reached out to some former Lobos players and coaches, specifically Rocky Long, Brian Urlacher, Dennis Francione, as well as some other players. Look, I think it's always good to get input from people who've had success here. I don't think that's the end-all, be-all to the criteria you set up, and I don't think that's the case. But, people mock Bob Davie when he talked about this is a unique place and all that. The fact of the matter is, that's correct.
It is.
It is. So you want to find someone who can understand that, but also someone who's a winner who can look. You've had coaches in the past who can build winning teams. You need a winning program.
Right. I agree with you.
You need to be able to sustain it. And even if that's someone, and this was brought up, even if it's someone who wants to leave after 3 or 4 years,
that's fine.
If someone comes in here and they have the opportunity for a better job in 3 or 4 years, that means they're leaving this program in a pretty good spot. And then hopefully you find someone to build on that. Again, the goal here is not just to have a 6-win team, a 7-win team, go to a bowl game for a couple of years. It's to sustain it over the long term. And frankly, no coach has done that here. Rocky probably came the closest.
And then he was bounced.
Right. But even still, towards the end, that was sliding as well.
One bad year.
Right. One bad year, NCAA investigation.
Happens.
Sure. No, absolutely. And I'm not knocking Rocky, but I'm just saying no coach has sustained. Rocky came the closest, and he probably sustained it longer than anybody else. But you either have a couple of winning seasons and you bolt, and then the program has gone down, or you have a couple of winning seasons and then you have 3 or 4 losing seasons.
Yeah.
So you want someone who can build this long term and sustain it.
We're going to take a quick break. We'll come back. We'll talk a little bit about the vision that maybe you have, the vision that I have for Lobo football. Not that Eddie Nunez called me. You should, Eddie. Call me. I'll tell you how to fix it.
He didn't call you?
He didn't call me. But I'm not a former coach or a former player, so that could be the reason. But call me, Eddie. I'll help you out. I can tell you exactly what to do.
Don't
we'll
waste
be
your
back
time,
with
Eddie.
more Red Menace TV.
Dorian over. Did he get in?
Yeah, they got in.
Touchdown, Dorian Lewis.
Seconds to play. Benavides looking, still looking up the middle. It's intercepted. It's picked off by Freddie Anaya, and Roswell's season will end perfect.
Second quarter, 2nd and 4 for Socorro at the whole 44-yard line. McDaniel trying, good block by Hicks. First down and more, 30, 25, 20. McDaniel might be gone. Touchdown.
Wow.
Touchdown for Michael McDaniel.
It's 40 seconds this year. It's not like 25 like it used to be.
He laterals it back. What a play by Hightower. Pitch.
Looked like somebody moved a little bit early. Hicks, the play fake double move. He's got his receiver wide open. Caught. One man to beat. Touchdown. Touchdown to number 17, Nathaniel.
Third and 6. Big defensive play coming up here. Little trickery to Reese. See you later. Touchdown. They went for the deep ball to Reese.
To the right, single receiver split to the left. Play fake, head up the middle's got some room. 50, 45, 40, has one man to beat. 30, 25, 10, 5, touchdown. Touchdown, Hope.
Wow.
On a
Option again, he'll keep it. Now he'll pitch it. Comes out to the 30, 25, 20, up the sideline. Still inbounds into the end zone. Let's see.
Touchdown.
Touchdown, Portell.
The outside of running an out route. Davison on the play action, looking. He's going to go back to Lewis, and Lewis makes a cut, and Lewis still on his feet. Dorian Lewis is in for a touchdown. Back to tossing, he's got all day. It's one miss, and he's rolling. He's got a guy. Can he get it there? Davison to Luke Weissong.
We told you he
touchdown.
Could spin that football, and that was a throw right there. I know he's got the win at his back, but
is this my car?
State Farm knows that for every one of those moments,
This is ridiculous.
there's one of these.
Is this my car? What? This is ridiculous.
This can't be happening.
This can't be happening.
Oh, it's happening, sweetheart.
Oh, it's happening, sweetheart.
Shut up.
Shut up.
That's why State Farm is there, with car insurance for when things go wrong, but also here with car loans to help life go right. State Farm.
Talk to State Farm agent Marty Size or Michelle Rudolph in Albuquerque today.
Sadie's is a proud supporter of New Mexico high school sports and athletics, and we here at ProView Networks would like to thank Sadie's for their continued support in helping us bring you all of your New Mexico high school sports coverage.
All right, welcome back to Red Menace TV. So we were talking a little bit off the air, Michael, about Bob Davies' contract, his money, and having to put more money into the program. We talked a little bit about the possible stadium, doing that. You mentioned Bob Davies' money and that he was one of the lowest players in the conference, or coaches in the conference.
Yeah. Look, if you want to attract somebody good and keep them for a while, you're going to have to pay them. And I get it. Where's the money going to come from? I wish I knew, because if I did, then this probably isn't an issue.
Then Eddie would call you.
Well, no, but if I knew it, Eddie would know.
Yeah.
And others would know, and they wouldn't need to call me. But I mean,
I'm trying to get you
you're
a
gonna have
job,
to.
man. Yeah, you could be like associate, what was it, vice president
Dude,
of associate?
I'm already good. I'm just waiting for
All
Ned
right.
James to get the head coaching job.
Oh, okay.
He's going to put me on staff. It's going to be fine.
All right, okay,
I'm good. I got a job. I'm good.
Okay.
I'm kidding. But yeah, I mean, you're going to have to. You're going to have to find the money from somewhere.
Yeah.
Whether it's coming from the state, whether you're finding new boosters somewhere, there has to be more money that goes into this if you want it to be successful. Otherwise, you're just going to continue in the same cycle. You can bring in different coaches. They can probably get you a couple of winning seasons. But, you know, at the end of the day, for every 2 winning seasons you have, you're going to have 3 or 4 losing seasons. And I don't think anybody wants that.
Yeah, so here's the thing, and I mean, I know you talked about, Eddie talked to Dennis Franchione, and Dennis Franchione was one of those guys. He came from what were they at the time? Pittsburgh State Gorillas. I'm trying to, if they were like D2 or D3 or NA. I can't remember what this is a while back, and they've changed the lettering and everything about it. But he came in, he built a team. But he was working on his resume. No big deal, that's fine. That's New Mexico. I think a lot of Lobo fans think that this place is like a destination on both football and basketball. It's not. It's like, know who you are, know what your university is. The university here is a place where someone can come and build a resume so they can move on to other things. And that's fair, that's fine. So he moved on, but they hired Rocky, who tried to change the offense a little bit, but realized he couldn't do it, so he went to what he knew, which was hard defense in a running game. Kind of Franchione kind of had this sort of the same stuff, all right? But then when they moved Rocky out, then they brought a whole different idea with Loxley, a whole different region of the country to try to draw recruits in. He was going to he changed the offense, he changed the defense, and there was like so many square pegs and round holes.
They're actually, and I don't mean this nearly as a slight to Bob Davie as this may come off. There are a lot of similarities in some of the mistakes that Loxley made, that Bob Davie made. Loxley wanted to air it out, another digit on the scoreboard. That's fine, but he tried to go all in from year one when he didn't have the horses to do it. He didn't have the players to do it. And, you know, kind of on that same token, when Bob Davie made the decision, look, the triple option is not going to work anymore. We're going to have to throw more. All right, that's fine, but you
hadn't
tried
been
to do
recruiting
it
to that.
right with quarterbacks and wide receivers that you brought here to run the option.
Exactly.
You know, it sounds great in theory, but in actuality, if you don't have the horses, you're not going to get it done. So you have to decide what you are, and you have to do everything you can to make that work. And what should you be? I don't know.
Well, I mean, and that's kind of the thing. Rocky, when they hired Loxley, he was going to be the polar opposite of what Rocky was doing, and it was a mess. And then when they fired Loxley and brought in Davie, he was going back. He's the polar opposite of Loxley now. And so everything was just, it took time. It took time. The triple option was great. They probably should have stayed with that. I mean, hindsight's easy to say now. We talked about, and I remember us talking about it on the show, the thing that didn't make the triple option work when it didn't work is they didn't have that fast running back that was able to pull it off. Had DeBest still been here with, I just spaced his name too, Carroll running the ball, I think the triple option would have been great this year.
Maybe.
You know, I'm just saying, it's hindsight. It's easy to say now, but I mean, I'm just saying, it's like hopefully UNM, like you said, picks a guy that's going to roll with what he got. I prefer Danny Gonzalez. I think he brings in the defense kind of like what he's run at San Diego State, what he's run at Arizona, trying to run at Arizona State. He gets an offense, a running offense, which I think there's still enough pieces here at UNM to run that. You try to run the ball, maybe triple option, maybe not, maybe you just go into a power I or whatever, and you do that kind of stuff. And then you work with that. Let him grow the program. Bring in a good young defensive coordinator or an offensive coordinator that, like you said, when he gets ready to move on in 2 to 5 years, then maybe you have your coach ready to go there. You know, maybe it's a guy like Zach Arnett who's just kind of hanging out there. Maybe it's someone else like that.
But regardless, the program's in a better place.
Right.
And you're not
And you're not handing off to the guy that's going to run air raid offense, or you're not handing off to a guy that's fresh off, you know, some other place. You're trying to build a program. There's a little bit of continuity in what you're trying to do. You know, obviously every coach is going to run things a little bit different, but that's what you're hoping for. Football's a lot different than basketball. It's going to take a lot longer. And obviously UNM's starting, they're not even starting from behind the 8 ball. They're starting, I don't even know, they're not even starting.
They haven't even racked the,
exactly. I mean, they don't even have a ball right now at this point. But I mean, you have to start somewhere, and then you have to be able to go with it. Lobo fan, I know I'm 51 years old. I've been a Lobo fan my entire life. I know what it's like to lose. I know what it's like to constantly be told, just hang on, let us grow this. We're rebuilding. Once again, Eddie Nunez, the new coach, whoever he is, they're going to ask you to hold on, continue to support, continue to through this rebuild. We're going to count on you fans. And, I know it's hard. It's hard to do that, but it's just like, it could be funner. And that's the thing, well, I was going to say, look at what Bob Davey wasn't the most outgoing guy in the whole world. And so when you can be that way if you're winning, I'll reference your buddy St. Stephen Alford. He wasn't the nicest guy or the most fan-friendly man in the world either, but he won enough that people didn't care. Bob Davey didn't win enough that people couldn't care about the arrogance, or they didn't care. They wanted to at least know the coach. You need a coach that can shake hands, and I think Paul Weir does that now, right? I mean, at the pit, they go and talks to people, shakes hands, how you doing, everything else. I think he gets a little bit, I don't want to say, I'm not going to say he's going to get a pass this year, but I think he got a little bit of a pass the past 2 years because of that. And I think that's what UNM has to look for, someone that's able to do that.
A handshaker?
Well, just somebody that you kind of feel good. I mean, look,
Yeah.
when Rocky was here, the Cherry Silver game was a thing. And people then, they say, well, nobody showed up. Well, hell, nobody showed up to the last game of the season, official game, much less. They don't need to hear, well, when I was at Notre Dame, I would get 10,000 people for practice. Well, you're not at Notre Dame anymore, so stop acting like you are.
Right.
You're in New Mexico. Build on what you have. There's still a few people around that I think you can work with and maybe do stuff. When we started the Red Menace end zone section, Rocky kind of adopted us. And they had a big party there in the Todium facility, and there was about 500-600 people that were there, and it kind of Rocky kind of let us do things that the whole idea was just to try to build that fan base up. I mean, none of us were big boosters. We were just all working class stiffs. We were buying the cheap seats, but he kind of reached out and kind of was like, hey, you're kind of like us. You're blue collar, I'm blue collar. You guys are hardworking, I'm hardworking, and that sort of stuff. It wasn't like I'm just trying to chase. And you mentioned that UNM needs to find boosters. There's no boosters in the state of New Mexico. There's very few, right? I mean, there's very few. So you can't quit trying to chase that dollar bill and try to pick up all the pennies that you can. There's a lot of people like myself that have pennies. Work with those people. Eventually, if you get 100 pennies, you have $1. You're not going to find a big booster. They're just not out there. I mean, Dream Style's there, but after that, it kind of slows quickly.
No, I absolutely agree with that. Here was my point on that, though. Somewhere you got to find more money.
Yeah,
more
you're
money
right.
has to go into
Absolutely.
the program. So what few big boosters there are, you go back to them. Yeah, look, I agree with you. Pennies make dollars. Quarters, nickels, dimes, they all make dollars. Right. It doesn't have to be the few big money people in this state or big money entities, but but part of that is being out in the community. When's the last time? And hell, I guess it's going back to Rocky when a coach spoke at a Rotary Club or some sort of
and then you
like
knew
that.
about it.
Right. Exactly. I mean, you got to have somebody out in the community.
If I'm UNM,
you want the fans support, obviously, and look, I totally get that. Support the student athletes, but you got to give the fans a reason. And if you can't give them wins right away, give them a coach who, at least in public, acts like he wants to be here, is appreciative of being here, and goes out and presses the flesh.
And entertain them. If you can't win all the time, at least be entertaining. Have some fun. Let them feel like they're a part of something. Let the fans feel like they're a part of growing something. We always felt when we started the Red Menace that Rocky was like a junkyard dog. The players were junkyard dogs, and we as fans were junkyard dogs. We weren't like that magical thing, but together we were just lovable junkyard dogs. Missing an ear here, kind of like an eye's popped out. We weren't those pretty.
That's hideous.
I know, but you know what? Everyone loves those dogs, right? You're like the dog missing a leg, so you're kind of hobbling on 3. But everyone loves those dogs. That's the way we were. That was the feeling we had between fans and coaches and players. So anyway, we're going to hobble out of here. We're going to turn it over to Micah Frankel.
I love the fact that you referred to yourself as a 3-legged dog. Missing an ear and an eye popping out. I love that.
We'll be back next week with more Red Menace TV. Until then, God bless you all.
beautifully handcrafted. A burger that's created from certified Angus beef, sinfully cooked to juicy perfection, and garnished with New Mexico's Hatch green chili. Tempt your taste buds with mouth-watering fresh ingredients.
Cut! We're gonna need another Laguna Burger. Try the irresistible, world-famous Laguna Burger. Visit thelagunaburger.com. It's fresh with a kick. Take 32.
Well, I'm going to the frontier, walk up to the cashier, order up a root beer and a number one. Cover it with green stuff, one scoop is not enough. Find a booth is real tough, back by the Duke. Meet my family, meet my friends in the quirkiest restaurant I have ever been. All of Albuquerque's favorite spot, it's the Frontier Restaurant.
The Frontier Restaurant is a proud supporter of ProView Sports Network.
Get into the game with Garden Swartz Team Sales. They have everything you need, from screen printing, embroidery, and digital printing services, high school letterman jackets, and all high school and club uniforms, and individual and team apparel with the most reliable brands like Speedline, Rawlings, and Wilson. And don't forget to check out the latest F7 Shut helmet. It's all at Garden Swartz Team Sales. Give them a call, 505-884-1234. Garden Swartz Team Sales.
Don't sacrifice quality and flavor when you're in a hurry. Golden Pride offers ribs, fried chicken, green and red chili, breakfast burritos, and Frontier Cinnabons. 4 great locations, or visit us online at goldenpride@abq.com. Golden Pride Barbecue Chicken and Ribs, proud supporter of ProView Sports Network. Car Crafters, proud supporter of ProView Sports Network.
Are you sure we're supposed to be doing this? Don't worry, I've watched him do it 1,000 times. Come on, what's the worst that can happen?
No! Bad dog! Hi, welcome to Car Crafters. What happened?
Don't worry, we'll make it like it never happened.
Car crafters, it's like it never happened.
Folks, there's no other way but to be all in. Either he's Lord of all or he is not Lord at all. And you can experience the real and authentic, true life change that only God can provide to humanity. See, when we truly encounter Jesus and purpose to know him and follow his teachings, hashtag life change will occur.
What is glamour? Frailty. What is desire? Diamonds. They say a life lived without passion is hardly worth living.
Ma'am? Ma'am? Ma'am?
Dang, this one made me feel all special.
Is this my car?
State Farm knows that for every one of those moments,
This is ridiculous!
there's one of these.
Is this my car? What? This is ridiculous.
This can't be happening!
This can't be happening.
Oh, it's happening, sweetheart.
Oh, it's happening, sweetheart.
Shut up.
Shut up!
That's why State Farm is there, with car insurance for when things go wrong, but also here with car loans to help life go right. State Farm.
Talk to State Farm agent Marty Size or Michelle Rudolph in Albuquerque today.
Welcome back from a happy Thanksgiving. Hope you guys had a great one. I cooked way too much, ate way too much. There wasn't too much combat sports, but there were a pair of things to talk about. We had a couple of local ties, a pair of local fighters that were in action, so we can hit those slides right away. It was Thanksgiving Eve. The 4th time was the charm for Chris Brown as he finally is in action on Warrior Way Wednesday on UFC Fight Pass. It comes in the main event on short notice, and it is just a total destruction. Brown takes apart Adam Twitty, a first-round TKO victory, showing many why Chris Brown is referred to in the Jackson Wink Gym as the future. You now even see on MMA Junkie why Chris Brown is bound for the UFC. So a huge victory there on Fight Pass in Detroit. And then also, we've seen him here before on ProView Networks, Legacy Boxing Promotions. Brian Mendoza, the Rio Rancho native who is fighting out of Atrisco Boxing, had over the year moved to Las Vegas, Nevada, now training out of Salas Boxing on ESPN Plus Top Rank Boxing this past Saturday, going against Larry Gomez. And fortunately, Labala suffers his first defeat, being on the wrong side of a split decision. From all accounts, the fight was an 8-round war, and I've had many pundits tell me that the fight should have been scored 5-3 in favor of Mendoza. So nothing to hang your head about, but we'll see Labala back in action, I'm sure, sooner than later, and definitely with a heightened intensity if you know the competitor that young man is. So let's get started with some slideshows because we got a lot to talk about, like what's coming up this weekend. One championship gets us going. We're talking about Mark of Greatness, a pair of Super Series kickboxing title bouts at the top of the card. You have the 125-pound title in the main event. Sam A. Guy-Yan Gundo defends against Gung Wong. And then in the co-main event at 145 pounds, Aliverdi Ramanavov defends against Chin Ling Zong. Also from America on the card and the featured MMA bout making his debut with the promotion on short notice, it's Dante Scuro, who I've had the chance to interview before, a tremendous grappler, taking on Alang Thien. Now, Saturday afternoon, there's some action for you globally. The biggest bout, middleweight history for KSW in Poland, KSW 55, Scott Askham versus Mamed Khalidov. UFC action after a couple weeks out. The UFC is in the nation's capital at the Capital One Arena in Washington, D.C. The main event, number 6 ranked Alistair Overeem, the K1 Strikeforce former heavyweight champion, taking on number 14, Jairzen Rosenstruck, who's coming in on short notice. He's number 14, as I said, ranked heavyweight contender, is 9-0, a heavyweight knockout artist, a top prospect, just coming off of 29 seconds of destruction of Andrei Arlovsky. Overeem has the experience advantage, the grappling advantage, but we've seen this play out before, like his fight against Francis Ngannou, getting knocked out by the young upstart. In the co-main event, Cynthia Calvillo returns from to take on unbeaten Brazilian Marina Rodriguez. She's 12-0. You also have a heavyweight bout on that main card. Big Ben Rothwell versus Stefan Struve, the skyscraper, two of the tallest heavyweights that the UFC has to offer. Rothwell been competing since the old IFL days, where you could have watched that on My 50 when they were trying the team version of MMA. Stefan Struve, we've seen him mature, go through heart problems, come back to the octagon, and still looking to really triumph. Not to mention Yana Kundaskaya versus Aspen Ladd is on that card, and the Dirty Bird, Tim Means, his return to the octagon there in D.C., taking on former welterweight title challenger Thiago Alves, one of the hardest kickers in the UFC, and that's exactly what the Dirty Bird asked for upon returning. He said, I want to test my ankle. That was injured. As you'll remember in the loss to Nico Price, the Dirty Bird wants to get after it right away. You look for Tim to possibly use his length, his striking, hit some takedowns, as Alves is going to be looking for the combinations leading, I believe, to those leg kicks or winging big hooks. Also on the card, you got to check out the opening fight at 205 pounds, Makhmed Muradov versus Trevor Smith. Muradov is the Floyd Mayweather-managed fighter. Smith is a grinder striker versus grappler in that one. A fun fight night for you. ESPN Plus this Saturday. That's starting at 3:30 So that one is a must-see. Not to mention, there's a pay-per-view also this weekend. Didn't get to put that in the slideshow, but throw it out there real quick. Hidalgo, Texas. Tito Ortiz, Alberto Del Rio, El Patron. Those are the most known names that he has from his pro wrestling career. Yes, Alberto Rodriguez, a former near qualifier for the Olympics in Mexico, but his country did not field a team. He has competed inside of the legendary Pride Ring. Not a great MMA run, but Combates America hits pay-per-view for the first time. Ortiz versus Del Rio. Tito Ortiz off his rocker this week saying he thinks he could still compete and possibly dethrone John Jones. Combate America doing what they can to try to get their name out there and into the spotlight. And I believe that we actually have one more slideshow. Yeah, we'll talk about what's going on in the ring. It all starts Thursday on DAZN. Yves Ulysses Jr. versus Ishmael Barrosa. It's a 12-rounder. They are welterweights. That's in California, and you can watch it on DAZN. Thursday on UFC Fight Pass. Shaquille Foster versus Alberto Mercado. That is a 10-rounder at junior lightweight. That is your main event. There's also a title bout on that card. Anna Laura Estrachit versus Mary McKee. That is a 10-rounder for the vacant IBF Women's Junior Welterweight title, plus 2 more feature fights. That's boxing on UFC Fight Pass. Saturday from Mexico on ESPN Plus, you have Manuel Navarrete versus Francisco Horta. It's a 12-rounder for Navarrete's WBO Junior Featherweight title bout. Also on the same card, Jerwin Anclius versus Miguel Gonzalez for Anclius' IBF Junior Bantamweight title. Saudi Arabia hosts the big one, the rematch, the much anticipated. Andy Ruiz Jr., Anthony Joshua 2. Ruiz, a plus 220 underdog, the IBF, WBO, WBA title holder, defending those trio of titles. Can Ruiz pull off the upset again? Can Joshua get back to the top? And also, can you believe the spectacle and the sight that this fight will take place in? This is the 15,000-seat arena built in 2 weeks in Saudi Arabia to host this event, the Clash at the Dunes stage that will be demolished. Quite the sight. Not to be upstaged, Showtime has a 4-pack of title fights to compete from New York on Saturday night. Luisa Houghton and Lorena Villalobos go 10 rounds for the vacant WBC Women's Interim Strawweight title. Marlon Tapis versus Rasuki Izue. That is the 12-rounder for the vacant IBF Junior Featherweight title. Then you have Chris Eubank Jr. versus Matt Korborov for the vacant WBA Interim Middleweight title. And Jermell Charlo in the main event versus Dennis Hogan. Charlo's WBC middleweight title is up for grabs in that one. Also, where we were gone, USADA unveiled some new guidelines, basically trying to help clear up some of these situations where if you test positive for a minute substance that is proven to be in a supplement that said it was not in that supplement, basically you thought you were taking something that was clean, you're not going to get as heavy a punishment because they're adjusting the picograms that you can test positive for in that scenario in hopes of fighters like Tim Means, Junior Dos Santos, even a John Jones, not being unfairly suspended for a longer amount of time than need be. Got a couple things to talk about on the local scene coming up real quick this weekend. Don't have a poster for it, couldn't find it, but it will be at Isleta. You have the brawl on the Bosque, police, firefighters going to battle. It's all for charity. It's a boxing event. That Saturday. Friday will be the weigh-ins between 10 to noon. I will be live at Isleta Casino. Check out 101.7 The Team for the audio cast of what's going on with the Brawl on the Bosque weigh-ins. Now, we do have a couple posters to tell you about the local fights that we know that are upcoming. We close out the year in Hobbs. Combative Wars 2. School of Hard Knocks Promotions will be presenting that MMA event. And then we already know the first event of next year, Southwest MMA Series, their 30th event, takes place at Buffalo Thunder Resort and Casino. A trio of professional bouts, including 2 women's fights on the main card. CageMinds.com for the full details. And I think it's time for a little break. We'll be back with more combat sports talk and to catch you guys up on what we missed over the last week in just a moment.
Dorian over. Did he get in?
Yeah, they got in.
Touchdown, Dorian Lewis.
Seconds to play. Benavides looking, still looking up the middle. It's intercepted. It's picked off by Freddie Anaya, and Roswell's season will end perfect.
Second quarter, 2nd and 4 for Socorro at the whole 44-yard line. McDaniel trying, good block by Hicks. First down and more, 30, 25, 20. McDaniel might be gone. Touchdown.
Wow.
Touchdown for Michael McDaniel.
It's 40 seconds this year. It's not like 25 like it used to be.
He laterals it back. What a play by Hightower. Pitch.
Looked like somebody moved a little bit early. Hicks, the play fake double move. He's got his receiver wide open. Caught. One man to beat. Touchdown. Touchdown to number 17, Nathaniel.
Third and 6. Big defensive play coming up here. Little trickery to Reese. See you later. Touchdown. They went for the deep ball to Reese.
To the right, single receiver split to the left. Play fake, head up the middle's got some room. 50, 45, 40, has one man to beat. 30, 25, 10, 5, touchdown. Touchdown, Hope.
Wow.
On a
option again, he'll keep it. Now he'll pitch it. Comes out to the 30, 25, 20, up the sideline. Still inbounds into the end zone. Let's see.
Touchdown.
Touchdown, Portel.
The outside of running an out route. Davison in the play action, looking. He's going to go back to Lewis, and Lewis makes a cut, and Lewis still on his feet. Dorian Lewis is in for a touchdown. Back to tossing. He's got all day. It's one miss, and he's rolling. He's got a guy. Can he get it there? Davison to Luke Weissong.
We told you he
touchdown.
Could spin that football, and that was a throw right there. I know he's got the win at his back, but.
Sadie's is a proud supporter of New Mexico high school sports and athletics, and we here at ProView Networks would like to thank Sadie's for their continued support in helping us bring you all of your New Mexico high school sports coverage.
The world-famous Laguna Burger is beautifully handcrafted. A burger that's created from certified Angus beef, sinfully cooked to juicy perfection, and garnished with New Mexico's Hatch green chili. Tempt your taste buds with mouth-watering fresh ingredients.
Cut! We're gonna need another Laguna Burger. Try the irresistible world-famous Laguna Burger. Visit thelagunaburger.com. It's fresh with a kick. Take 32.
Well, I'm going to the frontier, walking to the cashier, order up a root beer and and a number one. Cover it with green stuff. One scoop is not enough. Find a booth is real tough. Back by the Duke. Meet my family, meet my friends in the quirkiest restaurant I have ever been. All of Albuquerque's favorite spot. It's the Frontier Restaurant.
The Frontier Restaurant is a proud supporter of ProView Sports Network.
Get into the game with Garden Swartz Team Sales. They have everything you need, from screen printing, embroidery, and digital printing services, high school letterman jackets, and all high school and club uniforms, and individual and team apparel with the most reliable brands like Speedline, Rollins, and Wilson. And don't forget to check out the latest F7 Shut helmet. It's all at Garden Swartz Team Sales. Give them a call, 505-884-1234. Garden Swartz Team Sales.
We're back, and as I said, a lot transpired while we were gone. There was a recent guest that we had on the show, Tyler East. We've been talking about his upcoming USKA Muay Thai heavyweight title fight against Joe Stripling. Unfortunately, I have to report that that fight has been canceled. Now, the details are quite strange, and let's just get to it. Okay, so Tyler, as we said, this was his return fight. He had been away from competition for a couple years. Well, then, astonishingly, the Pennsylvania Commission first said the fight couldn't happen, didn't want it to happen because of the amount of time that Tyler had taken off. Now, keep in mind, Joe Stripling had 3 fights over the year of 2019, but before that was much the same, sideline with inactivity, problems finding fights. So it's not like Joe had this massive experience advantage, overwhelming coming in over Tyler. Once that situation got worked out, the commission then decided to require extra medical documentation or testing to be done. Now, this is all coming from Facebook. Joe Stripling had taken off to Thailand, as it was a Muay Thai fight, to go finish up his training camp. This led to him not being able to get the medical testing done that the commission was then on the last minute requiring, and their fight has been canceled, postponed, nullified. I wouldn't be surprised, though, with the social media interaction between the two, if it's rebooked for quite possibly a different commission, maybe a different promotion. But I don't think this is the last we've heard of Tyler East versus Joe Stripling. But I do have to report that is not happening this weekend, as when we had interviewed him, we had promised. So throwing that one out there, one of the more crazy stories I can bring to you guys of a fight getting canceled for really no fault of either fighter from what I can tell. Now, in the world of the UFC, there was a lot that happened also while we were gone. They took the opportunity of the holiday to just start flooding us with announcements, including the one that we had all been waiting for. It's not the real poster, but it's good enough for me. It will be happening January 18th in Las Vegas. Donald Cowboy Cerrone and Conor McGregor will throw fisticuffs, the notorious one versus the Cowboy. The former featherweight and lightweight champion will be having this fight for the 3rd time in his career. We're talking about Conor, up at 170 pounds against Cerrone, who's 6-10 in the division. The card will also see the rebooking of the rematch between Raquel Pennington, Holly Holm. The fight was supposed to happen at UFC 246, but was canceled after Holm suffered a hamstring injury. The preacher's daughter, the former champion, Pennington, was the one that welcomed Holm to the octagon. It was Holm who took a split decision in that first meeting. Pennington coming off of a split decision win in July over Irene Aldana. Rumored for the card also in July, but not confirmed. And I feel that this rumor is kind of far-fetched, but I think it's fun, so we're throwing it out there. It appears that Darren Till, off of the split decision win over Kelvin Gastelum, will be the #1 contender to take on Israel Adesanya for the UFC middleweight title. Now that Paulo Acosta is sidelined with injury, rumors have that fight for Las Vegas, but I believe it'll be on a more international platform. July 25th, it was announced that Rafael Dos Anjos will take on Michael Chiesa in Raleigh, North Carolina. That went by real quick. We do have for UFC Rio Rancho. Tickets go on sale December 20th. An official main event, Corey Anderson, Jan Blachowicz. Much would anticipate that that is going to be a light heavyweight #1 contender bout. Anderson, 4-fight win streak, 3 of them by decisions, coming off of the TKO of Johnny Walker. Blachowicz 2 in a row, big ones. The card also has gained Ray Borg, the former flyweight title challenger, is returning to 125 to take on Rodrigo Barantin. Barantin 2-0 in the UFC. That one also is going to have heavy effect there on the top 15 rankings. Borg rededicated to his diet, getting back to the division where he feels he performs most optimally. You will also see on that card the former women's inaugural flyweight champion Nico Montano taking on tough featherweight winner Macy Chiasson. This fight will take place at bantamweight, both coming off of decision losses, looking to crawl, scratch, and get back into the win column. Montano, excellent boxing, kicking, and jiu-jitsu. Chiasson looks to get her work done in the clinch. Also for that UFC Fight Night card, February 15th here in Rio Rancho, top wrestler is going to combat. It's Devin Brown out of the Jackson Wink Academy versus Gazimirov Antagulov, the Russian fighter who won his first 2 fights in the octagon by submission in under 4 minutes, has lost his last 2 fights in just over 5 minutes. Clark has all 4 of his victories in the octagon by decision. The card has also gained a top 15 women's strawweight bout. That's number 12, Montana De La Rosa, fighting out of Colorado's Factory X, is going to take on Mara Romero Bartella, the Italian fighter who's been training out of American top team there in Coconut Creek, Florida. Bartella is 2-2 in the UFC, while Montana has won 3 of her last 4 fights. We also got news that February 8th, the UFC will be in Houston, Texas, and the main event will see John Jones defend his light heavyweight title against unbeaten Dominic Reyes. Reyes 12-0, 9 finishes, all in the first round, 8 by knockout, including the knockout of Chris Weidman to earn this opportunity at the GOAT. John Jones, since getting the title back, has destroyed middleweights like crazy that have been jumping up to light heavyweight. The card will also see a second title bout. Caitlin Chikagian, the number 1 ranked women's flyweight, will take on Valentina Shevchenko. Chikagian has won 5 of her last 6 and has 10 victories by decision. This is going to be a technical striking matchup as the New Jersey fighter looks to set back Valentina, who has just looked incredible at 125. Couldn't go to Houston without having Houston's favorite son on the card, the Black Beast, Derek Lewis, the number 5 ranked contender in the heavyweight division, will welcome Alair Latifi, his first time competing at heavyweight since 2012. We can also confirm that April in Brooklyn at the Barclays, the 12-fight win streak of Tony Ferguson will go against the unbeaten Khabib Nurmagomedov and look to dethrone the lightweight champion. Ferguson, this fight, it's been booked 4 times, 5th time. Keep your fingers crossed. We're hoping it's the charm. Not to mention another title fight rumor is in the works, where it appears that the win over Michelle Waterson was enough to garner Joanna Jędrzejczyk the opportunity to be the first to challenge Zhang Weili for the women's strawweight title. If you remember, Jędrzejczyk did defend the title 5 times before losing it to Rose Namajunas, failed to reclaim it, got a win, went up, lost. Bellator news real quick to throw at you. Bellator 239. Ed Ruth is going to go against unbeaten Ukraine Yaroslav Amagov, and Brandon Gertz. Miles Jury is going to be the co-main event. Aaron Pico has been training out of the Jackson Wink Academy, has been added to the January 25th Bellator card in Los Angeles, California. So a lot of news for the MMA world while we were gone over the Thanksgiving break. Keep up with all of it at cageminds.com. And don't forget to join me on Saturday, 6:10 a.m. or 95.9 FM. The Sports Animal. Join me while I'm on the mic with Mike Adams. Thanks for watching Cage Minds TV today, and have a good one.